Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me. In this video, we're going to talk about a real horror story. What if I lost all my makeup? It would be terrible. But if it did happen, where would I begin again? Even if I didn't lose all my makeup, this might amount to just some advice for somebody who is starting from square one with putting together a makeup routine. And I am limiting myself here because I thought, let's make it be all stuff that could be picked up from Walmart. So if I were trying to buy this stuff all at once, it would be kind of a one-stop shop situation and limit it to 10 things, okay? I know brushes are needed as well. I'm not really diving into that whole angle of things for this video, but maybe in a future video, we could restart a brush collection from scratch. Most of the brushes I use are drugstore. I went through my collection yesterday and it was a little hard. I could have easily gone more than 10, but limiting it to 10 things that I think are essentials that I definitely want to have. And as I list them off, I'm gonna apply them and it should amount to kind of a quick look. For me, I feel this is fairly minimal, but we're gonna start out with number 1, and I've already got my skincare on too. Nobody took my skincare. Nobody took my brushes. What kind of weird story are you building for us, huh? 10 makeup items I would restock first. Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator. If we're starting with just one base item, I feel like this wears well on my skin. It's easy to apply. I just always like the way it ends up looking on my skin. And if I'm also getting a concealer, that's coming next, I can adjust the coverage on my skin and pretty much get it where I want it to be, okay? So I wear this in the shade Light. I just think it's an amazing product. I hope Wet n Wild never does away with it, and it's also very affordable. So if you're buying some 10 products at one time, you don't need to feel like you're spending an arm and a leg on everything. I can just see the scenario. You're running into Walmart. I need these things. I'm going to use this new e.l.f. Smooth Swipe brush. Oh, this is handling this one with ease. Look how pretty this looks already. I tell you, I could get used to this brush. I have been using it some on and off since the video where I was talking about the new e.l.f. stuff. The speed with which I can get around my face. I need this to end up being kind of a quick video because I have been cramming all of my video work, all of my editing into just these first 3 days of this week because we're taking a little road trip to visit Bub's family, and that's going to cover the days of Thursday and Saturday, and I don't want to miss my uploads. So I'm working ahead and I'm trying to get Thursdays and Saturdays completely done with 3 kids in the house and doing the packing and the rest of the prep work I gotta do. Okay, Bare Focus, always a winner. You see what I mean? It's kind of like lightweight foundation, okay? It's not just like one of those skin tints that goes on and does hardly anything. It really evens out the skin. It's like lightweight foundation, adds a little hydration. Good stuff. I'm not gonna skimp on the concealer I choose. I want something kind of heavy duty. And as you may recall, like the Emily Award winner for drugstore concealer was Catrice True Skin, and it's a phenomenal concealer. But in this circumstance, okay, your first 10 things, I'm not gonna put in a Catrice order and wait for that thing to come in. I need to be able to run out and grab what I need in store. We're limiting this to one store, which is Walmart. So I'm gonna go for my Revlon Color Stay Flex Wear. This is in the shade Vanilla, and it really is heavy duty, and I feel like I can, build it up a little bit more if I would want to for a fuller coverage look. But today I'm just going to put it on in the general pattern I would usually use, and it's going to do great with this guy. This is that e.l.f. Tap and Blend brush, and we're going to have under eye brightness and coverage. This may be a video for the person who's just like wanting a fresh start with their makeup, Maybe you're starting a new routine for the new year. You got some crusty, dusty stuff that you never want to use, and it's like, where do I begin with just like a manageable amount of things that you can just go pick up? This is that video, okay? Tapping it in gently, and then I'm gonna bring in that bigger brush. That's where the finished blend happens. Look at that, really nicely covered in the areas where I want to be. There's no redness around the nose. We're nice and bright and even on the under eye. And then hand in hand with that, I feel like I need to have a loose setting powder that I love. This is Maybelline Fit Me in Fair. I feel like it's a good value, a good product. Another one I love is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus, either in the light pink or the translucent. And if I'm buying multiple products, like I don't need to tack on an overpriced drugstore loose powder. Just give me what truly I think works best. And I'm taking this with a little triangle puff and we're patting it around the under eye. I'm going around the T-zone too. I know for me, like staying power can sometimes be an issue around the nose, so that is part of why I deliberately, in most every video where I'm using a loose powder and a triangle puff, I am going to hit the nose. I'm going to hit right between the brows, center of the forehead area. Is it so much a T-zone as an I-zone? What letter is the lowercase t? Okay, and then I just take a little brush. Any compact powder brush can do this step where I sort of blend it around a little bit. I feel like sometimes when I do this, I'm picking up a little excess. I'm blending in what wants to be there. But that is 3 products so far that I absolutely love that would make me feel good about my complexion any day. 1, 2, 3. Then if you're really trying to limit the amount of different products you're getting, you want to look for maybe some kind of multitasker like this. My Walmart carries this line called Pretty Smart. It's from the makers of the balm, and they have this all-in-one face palette. It does have a translucent powder, it has a bronzer and a blush. That's an easy way to get multiple products. You know, something else that would have been great is the Physicians Formula Butter Dream Team palette. I talk about that one constantly. This one maybe doesn't get mentioned as much. I thought I'd talk about this one today, but it's called the all-in-one face palette, and the shade I have is 60, I guess, in this. But what you could do is use some of this little translucent powder. I mean, in a pinch, if you were really trying to limit it, you could maybe drop the loose powder and just use that as under eye setting powder. That would be okay. I'm using it lightly, picking that up lightly on my brush and just dusting it everywhere. So all of my skin gets to feel a bit more set. Because just because we're being maybe a little more minimal with our makeup choices and we're not wanting to have to buy 8,000 new things to start a collection, we can still care about staying power and we can still care about coverage and all that stuff. I'm lightly powdered all over. Then I'm gonna go into the bronzer. Pick up a little bit of that. And this I'm gonna apply around the hairline, all my normal contour zones. It's a 100% matte palette. A little soft contour with it. Keep in mind, if you're also feeling very minimalist, a palette like this could be a couple shades you could use on your eyes as well. Finally, in this palette, we have a beautiful rosy, kind of plummy rosy blush. I'm going to go into that with my e.l.f. blush brush. You can't skip a blush, you know, even if you don't get this little guy. If you're building your collection, you got to have some kind of blush. Nobody's more active than a cat in the early morning. And then keep in mind, this can be a little finishing powder as well. Like, you can just go over the seams of your makeup, as I call it. There's a little seam between under eye and blush, and you can just lightly dab over for staying power's sake, but like, this looks so good. And that was our 4th product in the lineup. Again, if you can find the Butter Dream Team palette, here's what I'm talking about. This is like $15 and it contains lots of things. It's got highlighter, a couple bronzers, couple blushes, setting powder, but I also see this is giving multiple things, also good quality, and you're gonna spend a little less for it. Now, the brow situation is gonna mean different things for different people. Some people absolutely can't do without a pencil. For me, I can get by with one brow thing, and it can be the Brow Fast Sculpt / Express Brow from Maybelline, and I wear it in medium brown. It's got that perfect little brush that has very short bristles on one end, so that's where you can fill, and the longer bristles help fluff it on through, you know? So I do feel when I'm trying to be quick with it, I can get by with this and this alone. So right now I'm just kind of working off the very tip of the brush, and also this has incredible hold. That's just the cherry on top. But if you watch a lot of my videos, this gets talked about all the time, but it's a really good in a pinch thing. Like, I can do a brow I truly am satisfied with, and I'm just using that because the color in it is pigmented, you know? So like, there's unfinished brow, finished brow, one step. And you can just feel the hold immediately. Now, if you got a little area like here's my scar, work off the tip of the brush. Try to really just use that product. You could even, if you had an angled brush, you could go off of it and really, in a pinpointed way, get the product applied to your skin. But if you're also thinking, not necessarily replacing your collection or starting from scratch, but if you're just thinking quick out the door type of makeup, you know, a product like this can really be a shortcut. But not every tinted brow gel would do this well. Some things are way more sheer and wouldn't necessarily fill into my liking, but this one does a great job. And so that is the 5th product in my routine. The next one I would choose is Milani Eyeshadow Primer. This is as a person who has every intention of doing eyeshadow on the daily. You know what I mean? The next thing's gonna be an eye palette. If you're very minimal about eyes and eyeshadow, you know, maybe you don't want anything for this step. Maybe you're thinking of just grabbing a quick shadow stick. that's fine. Do what you want to do. For me, as someone who plans to do some eyeshadow, I would not skip the primer. Non-negotiable for me. There we go. And it's a good value product too, because you're just using a little bit. You'll have a tube of this for a long time. But that is my number 6 product. My number 7 product, I chose this palette. I've been getting into this one in particular just here lately, but generally speaking, Hard Candy. It's called Going Nude, Never Looking Back. And there are a lot of different directions we could go shadow wise in the drugstore, but this is very affordable. It's coming in at under $10, so it's cheaper than like one of the e.l.f. Perfect 10 palettes, and it's also a nice variety in here where I could go do a fully matte look out of what's here, or I could incorporate some shimmer, or there's some shimmers that are a little toward the deeper end that could make nice kind of like one shadow looks, maybe even the bronze. I feel like I got enough options here. I think this could easily become a brow powder for me too if I wanted to. A nice bit of range here with the darkness. I really like this palette. It's an everyday kind of tone that I would be content to use a lot. So for me, this would be a good place to begin. So I'm going to just throw together a quick look. I'm going to start with that mid-tone matte, of course. Sorry to be so predictable, but it's just where I like to begin. Getting some color in the crease and above. That's really become increasingly important to me, is taking that initial shade and letting it really like raise up, take up room. That's where your lift comes from, something that's kind of raising up there. So again, it's the crease, but it's the above the crease region, and this shade is just perfect for this step. And it also gives your deeper shades something to kind of blend up into. But see about where we're focusing that? Now I'm going to take a little flat brush. This is my Morphe M303. I'm just going to go into that darkest shade just to show you what it's made of. Get some of that. It is purely what you see is what you get. Don't sleep on Hard Candy. And I'll pat that on the outer corner. I'm flipping my brush so the surface that was patting product on gets twisted so it's hitting your crease and lifting. And then that can all just be blended out. I know some people say, well, my Walmart doesn't have Hard Candy. Okay, you could do an e.l.f. Perfect 10 palette. It's going to cost you $11. If you want to spend less than $10 for your eyeshadow, consider Wet n Wild. In their varying forms, you could get a Walking on Eggshells, or you could get a Nude Awakening, which would be 10 shades. You could look to Rimmel. They've got a great little nude basic palette. Magnifies Nude Edition, it's called. You could get a basic little e.l.f. bite-sized quad. If you're looking at Hard Candy, but you're not wanting to use something this big, they have quads. So there are options. I'm taking my crease brush and I'm just going over the darkness that was applied there. And look how nicely that can get blended out. It doesn't have to be hard, gang. Super easy. Next up, I'm taking my little bit smaller flat brush. It's called the M302. It's a medium flat brush. Same shape as what we just used. I'm going into that kind of like peachy shimmer. And this can go on like the inner part of my lid for a little brightness. It can overlap the darkness. Just give us a little wake up there. We also have a pearly white shimmer and matte white. We have bronze shimmer, brown shimmer. But I always love the looks I get with this little guy. Maybe a little bit of that white shimmer. Sorry, I didn't show myself going into it, but it's there. Inner corner. And then since I'm not pulling an eyeliner into this look, I did have a L'Oreal shadow stick chosen. And then I was like, no, I need one extra lip thing. So I dropped the liner entirely, but knowing I've got a really rich dark shade here, you can take a little liner brush with something like that if you want just a little added definition at the lash line. Also great for smudging on the lower lash line. So if you find a palette that's versatile enough, look, it's looking good. I wouldn't normally use just an angled brush on my lower lash line. I would use something a bit more smudgy, but it's got the product on it right now. So I just laid that down. Profusion small pointed brush. Take your mid-tone again and just blend right over. Soft, gently smoked out lower lash line. Profusion would be a great brand to look to if you needed to get some brushes, because they've got the 3-pack of the face ones, the 3-pack of the eyes, and that would be a terrific starting point that would cover so many steps. And if you're like, okay, but what about Morphe? I'm just going to Walmart. Get some sponge tips. Those can be your flat brush, okay? Next up, I'm going to curl the lashes. The mascara I chose is e.l.f. Lash Extender. I know I can get it at Walmart, number one. Number two, it is not going to smudge. It's what I always wear on my lower lash line without fail, and it can work great on my upper lash line too, so that's the one I'm gonna get. It's the formula I trust. Tubing mascara, that's why I say it doesn't smudge. It's a tubing mascara, so it's incapable of smearing and messing up your look. So we're gonna put some of this on the upper lashes. And this is product number 8. Get a nice little fringe going. There we go, and then just pop down to the lower lash line. It's overall a fairly defining mascara, kind of lengthening too. It can bulk you up enough, I think, with repeated coats, but I can be very satisfied with this one. And mascara is just one of those things, like it has to be in the mix. We can't skip it. I would love to come up with a drugstore lash curler that I loved as much as Shiseido, but unfortunately I'm not there yet. e.l.f. used to have a great one like years and years ago that I really, really loved, but that's not around anymore. This little brush, it's very rare that I like mess up with it and boop it on my eyelids and like get mascara everywhere. You can be very neat with it. See, look how good this is doing so far, and the curl holding too. That was product number 8. For number 9, this was one of the first things I like pulled into my bag. I was like, oh, I wouldn't want to be without one of these little e.l.f. stains because I have come to enjoy these so much. I've been in such a groove of wanting to reach for one of these every day. And when you think about it, it is multitasking lip and cheek. If you want to use it as a blush, it can be that. It can be a long wearing staining lip color that looks like a really pretty blotted matte lip on its own, or like layer a gloss over top. I love it. One of my favorite shades is Plums Up. I've gotten more into the one called Left on Red here lately. That's the actual like Benetint reddish rosy stain. Also love Cherry Cola. It's a little more earthy. It literally does give that Cherry Cola lip, but I'm using Plums Up today. Note the immediate color and the precision that I can get with this. I don't need a liner. I'm just using that doe foot. I'm going straight out to the edge of my lips. It's completely water weight, just liquid. But let that dry down and you got a beautiful stained lip, and it can be a stain on your cheeks too. So that is my number 9 product. And then I was like, I had a shadow stick in there. I had L'Oreal Brown Abyss, but then I thought, you know, I could get by without that and instead pull in a gloss. And I chose a gloss that I like completely on its own, or it looks really pretty topping anything off, and it's the Lifter Gloss in Moon. So now that this is getting dry, we're going to take a little bit of Moon over top. It's going to be so beautifully shiny. Would the stain last longer if you didn't put gloss over top? Yeah, probably would, but it's still going to hang around a good long time. Especially the boldness of the plum shade seems to really lock in there. But look how pretty that is. Some of these things, it's like if I didn't have anything anymore, there have been some products I've just become so attached to, and I really want to have these, you know? And then we look at the face and we're like, maybe a little more blush. And she survived the drop test. It was all by design. Now, just a little more of that rosy, pretty blush. Oh, it's so good. And it looks really good with that lip. Friends, for the everyday makeup look I feel I sacrificed nothing. I'm so happy with the way this turned out. Let's review. For base, we had these 3 things. We had the Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator from Wet n Wild, our Revlon Concealer, the Flex Wear Color Stay, really nice full coverage concealer that wears beautifully, and then the Fit Me loose powder, my favorite loose powder in Fair. That established the base in 3 products. And then 4, we got this. This was our face color. You also have that translucent powder, but I'm able to get bronzer and blush out of this. In a pinch, that could be eyeshadow as well if you wanted to knock down the product amount even more, but that was important to me to have those steps. So there's 4. Number 5, we did the brows in 1 step with the Maybelline Express Brow Fast Sculpt. Definitely can do a brow I'm content with. You have to look at yourself and say, would I feel more comfortable having a pencil? Do I kind of have to have 2 steps for my brows? You know yourself best, but this works for me. So that's number 5. Product number 6, we went with the eyeshadow primer because I'm an eyeshadow lover and I'm gonna choose an eyeshadow next, so I'm not going to put this on without this guy. So this is number 6, this is number 7. As I already explained, you have other options for eyeshadow in the drugstore. 8, I'm going to choose a mascara that I love and can count on always for staying power, and I can also just like the look in general. And 9 and 10, 2 lip products that I like. Each can give a different look on their own, but they can be really great together as well. So I hope this gave you guys some ideas. To anybody who's out there like starting the new year and maybe wanting to start fresh with an affordable routine and make it be things that are convenient and that you can just pick up from Walmart, this could definitely get you going. So thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you again soon. I love you. Bye.